No one saw this coming as the Vikings make a stunning trade, including a player the organization and fans were seemingly excited for this season, but now it's next man up or a search for depth reinforcements at the biggest position question mark on defense. We're going to break it down all that in this episode of Vikings Digest, but first, if you're part of the nearly 88% of viewers who aren't yet subscribed yet and you want to stay up to date on all things Vikings, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of the updates as they drop. And with that, let's hop straight into it, which is that Mekhi Blackmon has been traded. So Tom Pelissero was tweeting out earlier tonight that the Vikings are sending DB Mekhi Blackmon to the Colts for a 2026 6th-round pick per sources. Now, the Vikings have been making a lot of moves recently, specifically for draft capital and trying to clear up some cap space. We know a big move is coming at potentially wide receiver position, most likely, because the reports that have been coming out. If you guys saw Kirk's video on Jakobi Meyers, you know his thoughts on that. If you guys haven't yet, go and check it out on the channel. It was a really good video, and I think Jakobi Meyers would be awesome in Minnesota. Here's to hoping that that happens, but especially with Amari Cooper being taken off the board today. But as far as Mekhi Blackmon is concerned, this is a guy that we are going to clear up about $1.4 million in cap space and save us $1.6 million next year as well, as we send him off to the Colts and we don't have to worry about paying that money. Wasn't taking on a necessarily big cap hit, but he was projected to be in a much bigger role this season. So it begs the question of if he had performed this season with Minnesota, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but it goes into his 5th-year option and things like that as well, where Minnesota maybe wouldn't have picked it up. Because when you look at his stats, again, this is plagued by injuries. He missed all of last year, and he only had a small sample size with Minnesota, but playing those 15 games 2023, he didn't get too much experience. We're only getting 41 total tackles, 34 of them being solos. He did get a pick and a fumble recovery, but other than that, not too much to account for his time in Minnesota. So it does beg the question of what will Minnesota do from here. But this is a guy that, if you heard all through training camp and all through the offseason, Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, a lot of guys, even Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, they were talking about how excited they were to see Theo Jackson and Mekhi Blackmon this season because of the roles they would have to step in. We lost Cam Bynum. We were able to keep Byron Murphy, but there was a lot of question marks in the secondary, and they were supposed to be some of the answers to that. But now we are going to have to do that without Mekhi Blackmon as the team is moving on from him. It does make you wonder if this was all situational or if this was their plan from the beginning to move on from him, or if what happened in the preseason with suspensions and needing to get another wide receiver and needing more reinforcements in the secondary, maybe that factored into it, especially with Mike Hilton being released today as well from the Miami Dolphins. So there could be something there as well. But that's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is the main thing in here, and that is depth replacement. Because now that Mekhi Blackmon is gone, this was from ESPN, they hadn't updated the depth chart yet when I had grabbed these graphics. But you see there that with Mekhi Blackmon gone, he was supposed to be one of the starting cornerbacks. Now you have Tavierre Thomas having to step into there, maybe Jay Ward, Theo Jackson, even though he's more of a safety, he could potentially play corner. And then you also have Jeff Okudah there, even though he is behind Isaiah Rodgers and filling in there. Maybe they promote him because there has been a lot of really good reports and discussions around Jeff Okudah since he got to Minnesota as a potential candidate to really break out in a season where a lot of people were counting that move as a big mistake by Minnesota because he was past his prime, so to say, and he hadn't really emerged aside from that one season with Detroit. And then when he went to Houston, didn't really get much done, and then he got hurt. So there's a whole lot of things there. But with everything we're hearing out of training camp and with everything that Brian Flores has been saying and things like that, Jeff Okudah is looking like he could be that answer at the corner on that other side, where if you have him with Isaiah Rodgers, Byron Murphy, and then Jeff Okudah as that third corner, maybe Minnesota is okay with just riding through that with the regular season and using this money and draft capital to go out and acquire another wide receiver. Again, Jakobi Meyers is out there, but Amari Cooper just got taken off, like I said earlier. So again, the ideas there at wide receiver are starting to get very limited. On the last video that we talked about with the wide receiver trades, Alec Pierce was thrown out there. Rashid Shaheed is one that's been thrown out there as well. I would really like Alec Pierce. I think that would be a really interesting move, especially where Adam Thielen was one that we were considering and tried to make a trade for. Didn't happen. We couldn't get a reunion going there. Alec Pierce is almost like a mini Adam Thielen, so you could potentially have something there where it could be a really cool move for Minnesota. But again, I think as far as the ones that you could go and trade for right now, I think Jakobi Meyers, then you go Alec Pierce, then you go Rashid Shaheed. MVS is out there with Seattle, but again, he just got there, so who knows if he's going to want to leave anytime soon. But there is some interesting possibilities there for Minnesota. But as far as the secondary side of things are concerned, which is no one's really talking about that. Everyone's focused on the wide receiver. What's Minnesota going to do at wide receiver? But if they're not comfortable with the way that this depth chart currently is, this is where you kind of look and go out and see what free agent corners you could potentially sign. Now, as far as the trades, we don't know what entirely the trade situation is looking like as far as corners go. But this is the list of the corners that you can go out and sign literally right now if Minnesota want to do that. So we'll look at a few of them here. Obviously, Stephon Gilmore is one that's still out there that people have been throwing out as a potential reunion with Minnesota if they can't find anybody by the time that the season starts or trade deadline. Then as well, you got Jordan Poyer there, which I think is a really interesting one, as well as Asante Samuel Jr. Rasul Douglas, I think you stay away from him because he's had a couple down years in a row. James Bradbury is pretty appealing, but I really like the idea of Jordan Poyer and Asante Samuel because Jordan Poyer, he can play both. He can play safety and corner. And yes, you would be bringing in another aging corner / safety along with Harrison Smith for basically one more season to try and get a Super Bowl. However, I think Jordan Poyer still has some good game left in him, but Asante Samuel Jr., when you look at that AAV, yes, he's going to be due for a massive pay increase because of the end of that rookie deal. But I think Asante Samuel Jr., Minnesota, if you are looking for a free agency cornerback signing, Asante Samuel Jr. is your guy if you are not looking to trade and give up more draft capital or give up another player when you're already trying to go for wide receiver. You go the free agency route, you sign Asante Samuel Jr. Who cares what his daddy's been saying about Chris Carter? Who cares about any of the outside noise? Go out and get a guy that can be a really good, solid depth piece as well as someone who can be a reliable starter on the other end as well. So I really like the idea of that. And then if you look at the safeties as well, Jordan Poyer, like I was saying, Marcus Williams, that would be pretty ironic as well. But you have some guys here who could be willing to switch to corner as well, given with how the safety situation is with Metellus and Harrison Smith as well. But this is also someone who could rotate in as a safety and a corner as well. So that's another reason why you can go out and get Jordan Poyer because he can play both of them. Marcus Williams would be a really good touch of irony because of the New Orleans situation. But as well, Justin Simmons, I like that idea too. He's a good, solid veteran that you could bring in. He is going to be expensive. Jordan Poyer brings the cheapest cap hit of all of them, of guys that are really proven. So as far as corners and safeties are concerned, get a guy that can fill in both those spots in Jordan Poyer, or you go out and get a younger guy in Asante Samuel Jr. As far as the secondary goes, and if we're looking at potential solutions that we could do without having to give up anybody or draft capital in a trade, I really like those two options. You have both cheaper options. Asante Samuel Jr. is going to be pretty expensive, but still on a bit of the cheaper side because he's not going to be expecting to get paid like a top guy. Mike Hilton also got released today. I know he wasn't on that list because it just happened a few hours ago where he got released cut by the Dolphins as well. So that was someone that was going to be popping up on that list probably in the next couple day or so on Spot Track to see as a free agent. But Mike Hilton, that could be a guy who has some ball left in him. I know the Miami Dolphins cut him, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be bad on this Minnesota team. We've seen how even with Jeff Okudah, there was a lot of people saying, hey, this was a bad trade for Minnesota or a bad signing for Minnesota. Why would they do it? But then a few months later, now the winds are changing where there's a lot of positive buzz coming out about Jeff Okudah. So maybe this is a situation where Mike Hilton, Jordan Poyer, Justin Simmons, or Asante Samuel Jr., people that a lot of fans or critics or reporters are saying, hey, they don't have any ball left in him, or this guy isn't good enough to be a number one guy or a starter. Minnesota could go out and bring these guys in and prove to the NFL, no, these guys are capable of that, especially with this Brian Flores defense. But what do you guys think about all this down below? Do you guys think that Minnesota is going to go out and get another corner and potentially a safety corner hybrid as well to fill in that depth spot that Mekhi Blackmon is leaving? Or do you think that they're just going to roll with what they got now, be confident with it, and roll with that three-corner set of Byron Murphy, Isaiah Rodgers, and Jeff Okudah? And what wide receiver do you think Minnesota is going to trade for? Is it Alec Pierce or Jacoby Myers? Let us know down in the comments below what you guys think, as well as what you think about what Minnesota's first couple games are going to look like without Jordan Addison and what that record will be. Let us know what you guys have to say down in the comments below, but that's going to do it for this episode of Vikings Digest. I've been your host, Griffen. Take care.